Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. And don't you dare say it doesn't look any different. I've been working hard. That's obviously the main change. Okay, I've got my rack set up in here. My two Psychopsis are in here. This one's nearly open, but not yet. And my Paphiopedilums are in here, my Phalaenopsis are in here, my two Psychopsis. So that's their winter home. Yeah, they'll get a fair bit of light through this glass, not as much as they would out there. Out there they get cold, in here they don't. I would rather they lived than spiked. It's as simple as that. Although I did notice one of the Paphiopedilums has actually got a bud, but I'll do that at another time. This is a work thing. So a use for the Ceramis, about the only use I would ever put it to personally, and that's humidity trays. And it does that job very well because it's got a large surface area so water can evaporate. So I've got some humidity in here, because obviously there's a radiator there with central heating, so the air in this area potentially can dry off. But I've got a humidity tray, so that's this bit done. Out here, the top half of the rack that's in the dining room wasn't required because it would be right up in the dark, practically touching the ceiling, so I've made a use for that. That saved putting some plants on the floor, which I don't really like because they're in the line of fire of anything that's crawling, basically. The fact that all my hanging dendrobiums, my long ones, are all up here together now, and I've pushed them over there. So everything that was up there is now gone. That gets these out of my way. I don't keep getting my head in the bushes anymore. The rack that was on the back window's gone. I haven't found a home for that yet. I will. But the idea is that when I eventually take that shade netting off, these dendrobiums will go that way along the glass, or as many of them as I can get like that. That's the idea. Later, not now. Yeah, I've got a little bit of hanging space along here now because those shelves aren't there. That's actually quite good because that's a good bit of light comes through there. You know, that's not bad. So some there. Because the heater will come on now, everything on that rack's got to have its back this way. Otherwise it would be right in the line of fire of the heater, which that will be too much. I've still got a couple up here to move yet, but yeah, I want everything facing this way for the winter. Face the light, yeah, get as much as possible. So I've still got a few things to move around, but I'm getting there. I mean, most of the Tolumnias that were up on that hanging rack up the back, they're up there now, so they're not taking up any space that wasn't being used before. My Brassivola nodosa and my hybrid David Sanders, they're up there, so they're now facing the light, same as they were before. They've just moved along a bit, so nothing much has changed. But taking the two Psychopsis out of there, I don't know why, but it just makes that look a bit more spacious. And I've still got shelf space. I've still got some shuffling around to do because this is overcrowded. This is the bit I need to clear out a bit, but I have a plan for that. This giant nobile is going to get stuck vertical, yeah, literally. Old canes taken out the middle, dangly canes straightened up, so that will be a vertical plant rather than a horizontal plant. And its eventual destination is along the back there, because that shade netting is coming off. So that nobile and that nobile will be right up against that glass. That's as much light as I can possibly give them. And by putting them there, things like my Latorias can just step back a bit. Still get some light from around them, but not the direct sun through that glass. So they'll get shaded by the nobiles. So that's the idea. As far as electrics are concerned, I've still got to shuffle some of these little computer fans around. As I said, that one's staying. That one I'm probably just going to disconnect for the winter. It's blowing cold air in a place where I don't want it. Or cooler air, not cold. All of the stuff that was on there was basically my little kikis when that rack was there. So they've come over here now because the fogger's not there. And look at the light coming in through here. So that's a good place for them. A couple of other bits and pieces up there, but it's mainly the kikis, and my neophanesias are up there now as well. Got some bulbophyllums down here. The rest of the bulbophyllums have gone over here, along with a couple of the cotyledons, but again I haven't finished doing that shuffling around yet, because as soon as I get to the point that this end shade netting comes off, the last thing I want is my Miltoniopsis there. They were there to get the cool air from the fan. Well, they're not going to be getting much air through that fan anymore because it's been taped up. Yeah, so that one stays as it is now. That's permanently shut. This one can stay open, because if it does, if I do get an exceptionally warm day, that still sucks the warm air out, and it'll get replaced by air through that door rather than through that hole, because that hole's blocked up. But it will find some cooler air somewhere to suck in and replace what goes out through the hole, basically. Now this lot I'm just testing at the moment to make sure it actually works. So that fan and the heater, which is currently off, that's goes up to 3 kilowatts. That's hot. And I have the ability to oscillate that if I choose to, but if I do, it's a very slow movement, yeah, and as it comes back round like it's doing now, it's pointing straight at my Masdevallias and Ristrepias, so obviously I don't want it to do that ever. So although it can oscillate, I'm just waiting for it to come back now, I keep it still. That way I can point it into the centre of the room. God, that's hot. A bit less of that, I think. I don't usually run it on 3 kilowatts, I run it on 2. Because although I want the temperature to go up in here, I don't want to set fire to the plants, basically. That's just too hot in one go. So I'd rather heat it up gently and use a lesser heat for a bit longer. The electricity's probably the same. And that heater and that fan are now directly wired onto this thermostat here, which after all this time still works, and it's still got its original settings. Basically this is quite an easy thing to change. I don't know whether you can actually see the numbers, because obviously it's all on at the moment. To change the temperature I've just got to change it to set, basically, and then just wind the number down till it gets down to whatever I want it. 15 and a half will do for now. So by adjusting this, I can still use the, oh, go quiet when they go off. So by adjusting the thermostat well above the temperature I want, it thinks it needs to heat the place up. So it switches that on and that on. So I've still got access to that fan during the daytime if I want, just by upping the thermostat above where it currently is, and then it will just turn everything on. And obviously I can manually turn the heater off during the day. I just have, when I do this, from memory, I've got a horrible habit of going to bed and adjusting the thermostat down and forgetting to actually turn the heater back on. So, you know, that fan whirs away all night long without that, which is not a lot of good, really. So that's what I've done so far. Quite honestly, that's the hard work done, because, you know, getting the plants and the shelves out of here was the harder bit, basically. So I was in my own way all the time. Now all I've got to do really is shuffle some plants around and get them where I want them, you know, for now. And then I may have to move them all again once I get to the point where that where that shade netting comes completely off, which will be about a month, maybe 5 weeks, but it'll be into November anyway before that can come off. And then this shade netting over here is going to get rolled down to the level of the top of these shelves. So I will have bare glass all round here and no shade netting up there. I can't have any more light than that. That's the best I can do for the winter. And I just hope they put up with the bit of sun that they get. I will make sure that, especially on this end here, because this will get the majority of the sun, it'll only be for about 2.5 hours, and it'll be very low in the sky, but it will come straight in through that glass. And I'm going to make sure that the first set of plants that it hits can take that, and anything that can't will sit behind that first wall of plants, so they will shield the others. And then anything that just needs less light basically and won't be able to take it can come down on these lower shelves, where there will still be a layer of shade netting from the top of the shelves down. So I will have some shady places still. They're still bright, they'll just be not as bright. So that's what I've been up to. Down to one fogger now. That's exactly as it was before. That's still set on the hydrostat. That will come on if it drops down too low. It's funny actually, it is now. I've just noticed that the actual humidity's dropped right down. That's where I've been testing the heater, I think. Well, that's one way of dropping your humidity down. Anyway, I shall leave this one at that. That's the sort of changes I've done. Quite a few plants indoors now, and they'll stay there for 3, maybe 4 months, something like that. Probably end of February, maybe even end of March before they can come back out. In fact, it'll be the end of March before I can risk them coming out here. And at that point the heater will still be needed, I expect. I think last year I needed it into April. We were still getting frosty nights, so we'll see how that goes. Let's worry about this end first before we worry about the other end. Okay, that's what I've been up to then. Bit of a change round, and still not finished shuffling, but getting there. Most of what I want to do is in my mind now. I've just got to wait for the appropriate time to do it, like getting that shade netting off and that. Okay, bit of a shuffle. See you again. Bye for now.